In this video, we're out doing a little bit of night crawling. It was our last night at KOH and we wanted to get out and hit the trails just a little bit, go cruise around, see what we could get into. We decided to head over towards Turkey Claw and SOS area, an area we're familiar with. However, we appear to have missed Turkey Claw and went into the next canyon over. At night it's easy to get kind of disoriented out there, especially when the dust is hanging low in the air, and in the valleys it's kind of hard to tell where you're at. Sometimes that dust layer kind of hangs down and you can't really see the hills very well. So we ended up missing the drainage for Turkey Claw and went to the next one, kind of more on, I guess you would say, the west side, and ended up going up this other drainage. Johnson Valley is a giant OHV area, meaning the trails aren't really marked and you can pretty much drive anywhere you want. If you have a good GPS, you can kind of figure out where you are. However, with your phone you don't get very good reception, so it's kind of hard to tell where you're at. It's easy to kind of miss different trails, it's kind of easy to miss different things, especially at night. I've been on completely different trails than I've thought I was out in the night. Sometimes you can carry around a race map with you, and if you see the little mile markers for the race course, you can get an idea where you're at. That's another way to kind of navigate around out there. Sometimes looking at the lights of either Hammertown or the local little towns nearby kind of give you a good idea where you're at. Other than that, you're just kind of driving around trying to figure out where you're at. And because it's an open OHV area, there's trails up all these different mountains. So you might think you're on one trail, but you could be on something completely different, and that's what we were doing here. Night crawling is one of my favorite things to do. Seems more often than not we find ourselves in this situation out there late at night crawling around. One of the main reasons why is when we go to these races, or go to these different events I should say, isn't typically just for recreational. We're mainly there to kind of like help out at the race and help Paul during the day, and so we find ourselves out on these trails late at night just to go get out there. That's fine with me because I have a lot of fun night crawling. It's always fun just with all the lights on, and all you can see is really what your lights are pointing at. Just kind of cruising around, listening to some music and having fun with your friends.
So it's late, we're out here. It's I don't know, midnight or whatever, or last night at KOH. Driving up a trail that, I'm not sure what trail it is. We were looking for SOS, which we've done in the past, and ended up on a completely wrong trail, but it's a pretty hard trail, not gonna lie.
Working our way up, we ended up kind of taking a right up another valley that looked pretty steep and had a lot of loose rock in it, and it started to get progressively harder as we worked our way up in there. Zig and Kai kind of dropped into this lower hole to go through, an optional little line, and this one proved to be a pretty good challenging little hole. The thing about this is, once they got past the big rock there, you couldn't really back up again because you would be backing into that rock. If you tried to do a rear dig, it just pulled your back end more into that rock. So it was kind of one of those situations where you couldn't really back out of it because either your tire would drive up on the rock, kind of flipping you over, or your bumper is going to hit the rock. So Zig kept working to try and get out of this hole. He tried front dig, he tried kind of spinning around, backing up forward, going off to the side.
Okay. There you go. With, oh, safety glasses. Sucked your back end downhill.
There are a couple important things you gotta have when you're out night crawling. One of those is good lights. Good lights looking forward so you can light everything up and see well is incredibly important. Also rock lights so you can light up under your tires and see everything that's under you. Those are really important as well. It makes it so much easier when you can see what your tires are doing. Another thing that's great to have, but not necessarily mandatory, is a heater. When you're out there at night, man, does it get cold, and just the heat off the engine alone isn't enough to really keep you warm. So I have a heater that's under my back seat, and it blows kind of forward, and it keeps the entire buggy nice and warm. I tell you, on those late cold nights, having that heater is amazing. I give Zig credit, he kept working this line and he didn't want to give up on it. But eventually things just kind of started to get a little weird and we just had to finally pull some cable to get up out of there. I give him credit because I didn't want to try that line. I didn't want to get down in there, so I ended up just driving around.
Might have to go back up, or you think it'll climb it? Looks like I'm climbing it. Oh, there you go. Okay. Okay.
There were a couple more rock sections, but nothing as bad as that last hole that we had to drive up through to get up out of this valley. And we ended up coming up to this little rock section where there's kind of maybe a little bit of a V-notch. Anyway, I had to put my driver tire up on that rock and then the passenger and just try and kind of split the difference to drive up through there. After we got up out of that valley, we decided to run back down through Hammertown and just run one more trail. So we decided to shoot over to Chocolate Thunder real quick and just run that one last time before we leave. It was kind of eerie there at night, not having all the people there. Usually there's large crowds of people throughout KOH, but the party was pretty much over. Most people had packed up and were heading out, and we were some of the last that were kind of left there. It was kind of weird to drive through there with nobody else around because there's usually large crowds of people all hanging out there and just observing. Chocolate Thunder really isn't a very hard trail at all. It basically consists of one middle section where there's multiple lines that are through it. So there's kind of a right line, a middle line, and a left line. And then there's a far right line when things are super crowded that I like to drive through. When, for example, if people are stacked up all the way through there, I take the farthest right line you can to kind of drive up and around everybody. Because during the middle of KOH, it gets crazy in there. In this example, I'm just driving up over the left line. I hadn't done that one in a while, so figured I would give that one a shot, and wasn't too bad at all. After that middle section, there's really just one more little waterfall, and I like to take kind of the far left approach, otherwise my belly will get hung up on it if I kind of stay to the right. So I always just kind of go a little bit further left and then hang passenger to drive up over it. After we went up Chocolate Thunder, we decided to turn around at the top and head back down. It was just fun just to kind of drive back down through it one last time, as we had a long drive the next day. And I knew I was going to be really short on sleep, but it was worth getting out just one more time, just to go out and hit the trails for a little bit. This entire trip was a little bit short-lived, but like I said, our main goal when we go there wasn't necessarily for recreational wheeling, but it was more just to help out Paul. All in all, it was a good week, and it was a good way to end the trip. It's kind of eerie to see the whole thing getting shut down, and entire Hammertown, which was so busy and so full of life the week before, was now all just a bunch of empty tents, and most of the people had taken off, and we were going to take off early that morning.